right, Jumoke. So let's talk some basketball, actual basketball. So I don't know if you saw this because you and I have talked about possible Ben Simmons trades over last month or whatever. And I know you were a fan of possibly swapping Ben for Kyrie. But now, according to Shams Charania of The Athletic, the Celtics are interested in Ben Simmons. And this is from Shams. The Celtics have engaged in conversations with the 76ers revolving around Simmons and expressed interest in the 6'11" guard. Sources tell The Athletic. Talks have been fluid with no traction as yet. Those sources say any potential Simmons deal with the Celtics would have to include all-star forward Jaylen Brown, a ascending talent who's in the midst of another career season, averaging 25.6 points, 6.1 boards, and 2.5 assists. The Celtics, as everybody knows, they have been off to a 4-6 start. Recently lost to Dallas, as I talked about before, on Saturday night. All right, Jumoke, if you're the Celtics, are you trading for Ben Simmons and getting Jaylen Brown out of there?
No. That would be the dumbest trade that the Celtics could make because they're already dealing with a toxic culture. What did we have to do? A players-only meeting like 3 days ago. You don't need to bring in a player who says he's mentally not ready to play basketball, can't shoot, and you're giving up a shooter in Jaylen Brown. Now, I'll give you this. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, definitely there's some issues there. Who is the alpha? Who's the one? Who's 1A? I think that's causing a rift. Obviously, you don't see any Jaylen Brown commercials compared to you seeing Jayson Tatum everywhere in commercials. Everybody loves Jayson Tatum. So I think in a situation like that, I would not necessarily bring in a Ben Simmons because I think that you give up too much firepower. The Celtics would be taking a step back and not being able to. I understand it's difficult for the Celtics right now, but you got to find a way to make it work. I think you brought this up in your NBA Exchange podcast on Friday about the number of dynamic duos. And I didn't hear you say one that I was like, man, they could have done something. Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter. That's what I think of when I think of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They're both swing players who are dynamic. And it's like you've got to find a way to play together. You bring in Ben Simmons, I think you lose the firepower. I think that, what do you do in terms of his style of play? If he can't shoot jumpers, are you really going to have your point guard be backing down players? I just don't think it works. And the reason why I love the Kyrie Irving is not just because of the vaccine and the ridiculous mayor who backpedaled, 2 days after he's like, I'm going to change the vaccine mandate. Let me revisit it. No, you weren't. Like, it's perfect because Kevin Durant and James Harden can play off the ball. And then you just have Ben Simmons. All he has to do is bring up the ball. He's a great defender. You can put him on the best player. It just works. And I think when you talk about, the 76ers want the best player they can get out of a deal or draft picks, you're just not really going to get that. At some point, he's just going to hold out. You're just going to be stuck with Ben Simmons.
I mean, if on the Sixers side, if you can get Jaylen Brown, I think that's pretty dope for them. That's pretty dope for them if they can. I'm with you. What this says to me, and I spoke with somebody who's around the Celtics right before the show, and the person said to me, the only thing that makes sense is that there's possibly serious beef between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, which you alluded to. And this is why this is getting out there, being floated out there. My producer Greg also said to me, well, it could also mean Marcus Smart maybe wants out, or they'd package him in the deal as well, too. I mean, he's a very tradable contract, and that makes a lot of sense to me. But I don't see why. Look, I can't, I had to stop myself. Generally, we say, I don't see why you would give up two young, transcendent wing scorers like this. But we've seen this happen before. Like you said, T-Mac and Vince Carter. We've seen these things not work before. I talked about Marbury and Garnett. I talked about that back in the day. We've seen this not happen before. So I don't know. But if I'm the Celtics, I'm with you. This doesn't do anything. This doesn't move the needle. And I think it helps the Sixers more than it would help the Celtics because I think they'd be getting back the better player in the trade. I think they would.
And I also think for the Celtics, the worst thing that they could have done, and it's not so much what they could have done, but Brad Stevens being in the front office, that's just a mistake. Because if this team has any turmoil, what is everybody going to say? Oh, we want Brad Stevens back on the sideline. It's not like the opposite, like in San Antonio when Greg Popovich came out of the office to coach. This is Brad Stevens is still looming over the organization, where anytime there's going to be any sort of culture shock, turmoil, everyone's just going to be like, oh, yeah, we need to go back to Brad Stevens. I think that team and that organization is in turmoil all around. There's a reason why Brad Stevens is like, yo, I don't even want to coach anymore. I want to be on the sideline. It's just too much, too many egos. I cannot handle managing everybody on that team. I just think it's just more of the same. And you are going to have to break it up, but I don't think you break it up for Ben Simmons. I think he just brings more drama.